Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Motivational Monday. My name is Kira. I am your host. If I sound congested, it's because I am. I'm a little sicky today, but not sick enough to keep me away from you. So I'm very excited for today's conversation. If you catch me drinking a warm beverage, it's peppermint tea with honey. We did an episode back in the beginning of Motivational Monday of the different effects of caffeine. So I'm not a caffeine person, but all of this to say that we're talking about health today. The title of today's session is The Momentum That Your Wallet's Been Missing. And I feel like sometimes we need the momentum and the reminder of like what our health does to us, what that means for our finances, what that means longevity wise. And today's episode is actually the last episode of Motivational Monday 2025, which I am so excited. We have done so much, we've covered so many things. We talked about how to be human first. So we really talked about what it looks like to no longer operate as a robot, but to realize like, hey, we're humans. We have limited capacity and we have to honor that, especially again for the longevity of our life. We talked about a lot of different layers of physical, emotional, and mental well-being for our Rooted in Well-being series. We had our Leading in Love series where we talked about um professional relationships, self-love relationships like ourself, and then our interpersonal relationships. And then this whole quarter we've been talking about money mindset, money management, and then this is the last episode for money momentum. So I'm dropping the link in the chat for you all to register for Motivational Monday 2026. We have an entirely new link. So you have to register for every year we'll have a new link that lasts the entire year. So that is the most updated link with all of the sessions that we will be doing for all of 2026. And we're actually moving on to monthly programming instead of quarterly programming, which is really, really exciting. So what we're going to be talking about next year is the first month, January, is sleep and hydration. I really wanted to look at how can we focus on our well-being and our wellness and our longevity from like ground zero. And the number one thing that you can do for your health is getting sleep. The second number one thing that you can do for your health is drinking water. So that's why that's the first episode. The second month is going to be stress and anxiety management. If we don't know how to manage our stress, stress is also a high, high, high indication of if you're going to live a long, well life as well. If you do know how to manage your stress, your longevity increases. If you don't know how to manage your stress, your longevity decreases. And then the third month in March, we're actually talking about women's health. It's Women's Appreciation Month. And I think men or women, you can learn so much from women's health. We only have two genders, right? Male and female that we're born with. So we might as well learn ourselves and learn the opposite gender as well and allow ourselves to have this realization of, cool, we get to have a holistic perspective. There are some ways that men and women are very similar. There are a lot of ways that men and women are very different. Women need more sleep than men. Women are less, sorry, again, I'm sick. The words are going to come a little bit slower today. Women have a lower threshold for stress. It affects us a lot differently. So there's a lot to learn and also a lot to manage about that. In June, we're doing men's health as well. So trust, I did not forget about men. I think that men are kind of underrepresented, kind of forgotten, and there's like a lot of negativity around men societally right now, which is unfortunate because I love men and I think that men are the best, but I wanted to have a month to represent you all as well and what your needs are. So, we've got a lot happening in 2026. Rest assured, I am dropping the link to the song that we opened the session with. It's called Tangled by John Spitloff, and he is so good. And he did a show last month at a jazz bar 2 hours away, and I forgot to go, and I'm still sad to this day. But I've been sick for like 4 days, and that song that I played opening the session is the song that's had like given me the energy to actually walk my dogs and to have a good time. So. Hopefully you enjoy that song. It's a very like cuffing season song. You can drop 111 in the chat if you know what cuffing season is because it's real. Like all I want to do is cuddle up. But conveniently, I have two dogs to do that with, so that makes my life a lot easier. I did post a TikTok the other day though with me dancing to that song with my dogs, and I was like, imagine hating me, and this is me on a Sunday morning dancing with my dogs in the 30-degree weather. So it's real. Um, But yeah, I only have one more announcement and then we're going to get on with the session with Charles. We are kind of switching up the schedule a little bit in 2026. If there's one thing that you all know about me, for those of you who have been here for a while, it's that I like to change things up. I like to test things. I like to see what works. I like to see what doesn't work. And the one thing that we are doing is instead of doing our deep dive session one week and then the deep dive mentorship the next week, they're going to be back to back sessions. So the last Wednesday of the month is going to be the deep dive, and then the Thursday exactly the next day is going to be the Q&A, where you can ask your questions, you can get the advice that you need, and we don't have to have a whole week in between that programming. So we're going to see how that goes and test it from there. And without further ado, we have Charles here. He is one of our certified guides with Life Guides. We do two things, two main things at Life Guides. We do our events, which is a group guided session. And then you get to have one-on-one journeys with our guides, which is like the bread and butter of everything that we do. And Charles is one of those guides that you can do that with. So instead of reading their bios, I've started reading their superpower. And Charles's superpower is that he helps individuals combine practical discipline with their aspirations to build a successful and meaningful life. So thank you so much, Charles, for being here. Can you intro us a little bit to today's conversation and why it matters to you?
Sure. So we started off our journey together, Kira, with talking about all the reasons why money matters and how to invest that money. And so I thought it was fitting to end our journey a little bit with, what money can and cannot do for you towards your older years and how to be a little bit savvier with your money and how to create games to get what you want without spending big money and kind of wrapping everything up into exactly why we're doing everything from the beginning to the finish, and this is the end of where we're trying to get to. And I want people to be able to get to where I'm at and beyond where I'm at and enjoying that money and having the freedom to do things with it and having good health to enjoy it. That's the whole name of the game. So it doesn't matter how much we save, how much we invest, if our health isn't there with us. And if you don't know how to find money to save, well, let's teach you a little game that me and Kira both do ourselves.
So Charles and I play a lot of games with money in a way that spending money feels very satisfying, but where we're still focused on our long-term goals. And I told you in the beginning, right? We're doing sleep and hydration and then stress and anxiety management because stress and anxiety is a huge, it just depletes your health and it depletes your well-being to be in a constant state of stress or to be in a constant state of anxiety. So I want to know, drop 222 in the chat if you experience stress or anxiety around stresses on a regular or around finances on a regular basis. Because I feel like that's a really important place for us to start with that realization of, okay, wow, the 222s are coming through. Of, okay, you know what? Money stresses me out a little bit. And money used to stress me out a lot. Once I got a guide to help me with my money, I went from $30,000 in debt living with my mom to now having zero debt, living alone, living a life that's fulfilling. And mind you, I still stress about money, but it's so funny because I have like savings accounts and high yield savings accounts, and I'm about to start doing investments, but I still notice myself stressing. And I think it's those old patterns that I need to reinforce and reaffirm in my life of like, oh, Kira. You have money. Just because you have access to limited funds, which is the way that I've created it, doesn't mean that you don't have money. And it doesn't mean that you need to be stressed about money. You know that you have a good financial mindset. You know that you have financial well-being. You now teach people about money mindset and how to manage their money and finances in a better, more holistic way. And it's the reminders as well. So as you're on this journey, I want you to affirm your growth and where you were at the beginning of this versus where you are now. And remember that it's a long-term journey that you get to grow over time. So, Charles, I love today's conversation. For those of you who don't know how these sessions work, I go to our guides and I'm like, hey, this is the main topic. What do you want to talk about? And Charles came to me and he was like, I want to talk about how you can manage your wealth and your health so that you can live a long time with both of them. And he kind of alluded to that of the way of like, if you don't take care of your finances, you're not going to live a long, wealthy life because that stress adds up. But also, if you don't take care of your health and you're only taking care of your finances, then what does that mean at the end of your life when all of a sudden that wealth goes away because you don't have your health? So, yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about the ways that we can manage our money now, um, and the ways that we can start managing our health as well. So let's talk about some of the tips and tricks that we use now to manage our money and to make it a little bit more fun, to make it a better game so that we have more of that income to put towards our health.
Yes. So, Kira and I were talking, and I was explaining, like right now I'm traveling. So if you hear a little bit of noise, it's because I got three women with me because we're all crammed in. So I got my daughters, my wife, and everything. So, uh, and you don't think about little things that can benefit you. So there are good times to spend money and there are bad times to spend money. So, like I was going through a store and I came across these micro fiber towels, which are like a third of a traditional bath towel. And I was like, that would free up so much space that I could get everything into one bag. And now I don't have to put anything underneath the plane by spending a little bit of money on a towel that's not a traditional towel. And I don't really need a traditional towel. I just need something to dry myself off after I get out of the shower. And I'm like, well, why spend $50 for a bag going underneath the plane if I can just shrink everything down? But when I was at the store, I saw it and I go, this is $24. That's really high for this. And I go, I know I can get it cheaper somewhere else. So I like playing these games with myself, like hide and go seek. It's hiding, and I got to go find the best price. So that's when I will go home. And because I know it's something valuable for me, because it's going to save me some room in my bag, it's going to save me a little bit of money if I can get the price down cheaper, and I can sit there and justify spending that additional money because I'm saving money from not sticking a bag underneath the plane. So it now this is getting into common sense, but I need to get my costs down as cheap as possible because I'm trying to save money from what I'm going to spend on the plane, not spend equivalent to that. And then why is it worth me running around? So I also put in like my time is worth money. So if I'm going to invest the time in it, I need to get the best price out of this. So I call it hide and seek. I'll go searching through different websites in my spare time. So instead of maybe watching TV for an hour, I'll do something a little bit more productive towards my life. And in the evening time, I'll sit down and I'll search and I'll go through, read reviews, and get the price down. So at the end of the day, I found something similar that was $8 off of Amazon. And I was completely happy with it. That saved me a lot of money. So now I'm not spending $50 underneath the plane. I didn't spend $24 at the store, but it made me aware of what I could get that would resolve an issue and save me some money. So now by doing my digging, I'm under $10 and I only spent less than an hour. Instead of watching television, I took the time to do that, and that was my entertainment. So it was fun because I had the thrill of shopping and spending money, which we all enjoy at times, but I was doing it for something that was going to benefit me. And this is a different way of looking at money instead of going out and going, oh, wow, this is such a great thing, and spending the most amount of money on it, and then going home and going, why did I spend all that money on that? And you could have waited, got a better deal, you could have done some shopping around. So I call it hide and seek. I don't I don't like to refer to things as negatives, like, oh, I'm on a diet. It has a negative connotation. So it's all mental tricks. And what I've learned from being in the military is your mindset is the thing that you have to change. You know, when we were younger, they told us, suck it up. You know, you're sitting in the mud and it's raining and it's 50 degrees outside and you're crawling around and you're in it all day long. You're freezing and you're tired. Either you can complain about it and be miserable, or like they would tell us, find a better place in your mind. So I always found myself sitting on the beach in a warm environment, enjoying, the weather. And that was my mental picture, and that got me through those times. So at the same token, when I think about money, I'm playing a game. So money is a tool for me to get me somewhere. I want my money to work for me in a way that makes my life more happier, makes things more convenient for me. So I like to travel. I have limited income, and if I want to travel, I have to find ways to travel without spending big money. So I squeeze into my daughter's small apartment for a couple weeks, so I get to see her. And these are different ways of being savvy about money. I get the same result as someone who has millions of dollars that they can go out and blow on, a $2,000 hotel room and live luxury and have someone drive them around. I get to the same place. It's just knowing how money works and where do I want to be at. And I explain that all the time to people. Where are you trying to get to? Because those are two different things than how much money I need. It's just where am I trying to get to? And at
Mm.
my age, I'm trying to get to somewhere. I'm trying to see how long can I live and enjoy the money that it can provide me in my comfort of obtaining those things that I want in my life. And that's the stage that I'm at. So I'm not in the game of trying to make money. I'm in the game of trying to conserve money to accomplish things that I want in my life in my older years. And this is where mindset matters. So you're starting that journey off at 18 years old, at 20. You don't realize where that journey's ending, but you are starting it. And when I look back, I had started such a long time ago, and I was so naive about the journey I was starting and where it was leading me to. And that's the issue for most people is they don't see where the journey's leading them to. But it's a beautiful journey, and everyone has a beautiful journey. It's just learning to be wise about that journey and taking a couple of precautions. So when you get to my place at age, you have a little bit more money. You can do things with that money that provides you the entertainment that you want in your life. And for me, my entertainment is being around my family and seeing people that I love. And so having that money makes the big difference. But I also realize I don't have a lot of that money and I can't afford to make mistakes. So if I lose $1,000 in a mistake, it's like, oh my God, I just lost $1,000. So I have to be a little bit wise. I have to still be thrifty, and I don't mind pulling out a coupon, and I don't mind being embarrassed if I'm the only one at the store with a coupon in my hand. Because if you know what, a dollar in my pocket is a dollar. And if that allows me to go see family and friends every year, I will pull out that coupon and not be embarrassed about one moment because of the other sucker that's standing in line watching me going, oh, that idiot's pulling out a coupon. How poor is he? That person's working for their money, and I'm traveling and doing things with my money.
It reminds me of the balance between the current, like right now and our future. Like, how do we, because we can't we can't just focus only on our future and deny ourselves everything right now. But we cannot focus only on the right now and deny ourselves everything for the future. And it's the balancing act of that. So for me, like I love shopping, I love clothes. I have very specific budgets built in for all of it that I'm abiding by, which makes me really happy. But with that, like I have this designer pair of shoes that I wanted. It was $250 retail for the designer pair of shoes. I do not pay retail for almost anything unless I'm at like a local store buying like jewels, whatever. But other than that, I know like if it's coming from a Free People and Anthropology, these shoes are Sam Edelman's, whatever. I know that I can get them elsewhere for less. So I go on to Depop, Poshmark, and Mercari, and they're people who are reselling things. And I bought the exact same shoes that most people bought for $250 retail. I bought them for $50 brand new through a third party person who already had them, which means two things. One, I got the shoes for 20% of the retail price, which for me, like I bought the shoes many, many months ago. I'm still so ecstatic about that. Every day I put them on. Every time someone tells me they love my shoes, I'm like, I know, and I got them for 20% of the retail. Like that feels really good and it gamifies it. But trust, I had to research for about, I don't know, many days, many weeks to finally find them. And it was a treasure hunt. It allowed me to get exactly what I want in both ways. I got the shoes that I wanted while still maintaining my budget. My clothing and shoe and jewelry budget per month is $150. I couldn't have bought $250 shoes if I wanted to. It's not in my budget. So I had to figure out how to do it in my budget in the way that works for me. And I got the satisfaction of getting them, but I also have the satisfaction of knowing that I'm $200 richer in girl math, right? So I can, if I was thinking about spending that money, I could put it towards something more intentional, more focused. And I think one of the things that Charles and I wanted to talk about today is the ways in which we pour into our health. Gabrielle says, I love girl math. Me too. Um, our health is a huge investment. And for me, my largest budget amounts in my budget are for food and for the health products that I put into my body. Whether it means I'm buying a red light or whether it means I'm buying a new supplement that I know is going to help me, or I have a doctor who's helping me with my gut health, whatever. So many different things. I used to run a health and wellness business for about 5 years. And one of the things that I always told people is it's really cool if you have your money right now. Um, and you're doing all these things and you're living and you're traveling and you're spending all your money on everything else. But what are you spending on for your health? What are you pouring back into your body? Because I think it's really easy to look around and be like, I have this table, I have this computer, I have this art, I've got all of these things. You do not have any of that once you lose your health. And the reason that one of the most significant reasons that people go into debt or lose their money or all of the things is actually health related. And it's an unexpected health expense that usually comes up at some point in our life where a lot of the older age illnesses that you get are a byproduct of decades of poor decisions. So when you see people who live really long lives, chances are they made a lot of really good decisions to support them in that way. But if you're in the hospital, this table doesn't matter. This computer doesn't matter. That piece of art doesn't matter anymore. None of it matters. And your life could get taken from you sooner than you expected. And I know sometimes this can sound like a morbid conversation, but it's a real thing that happens. And it's a real part of us. And we really need to take inventory of what's a priority. Do I want to have all of these beautiful, lavish clothes and all these beautiful, lavish trips that I might be able to experience for the next 10 to 15 years and then not have that for the rest of my life? No, I'd rather have some beautiful clothes and some good trips and a lot of great memories over a long, expansive amount of time. So, Charles, how do you in your age, obviously you and I have about 20 years difference between us. How do you in your age prioritize that as you're in a place where health matters and it will always continue to matter?
So I'll step back and tell you a quick story. When I was about 49, I was in the military. I could keep up with a 20-year-old kid, no issues. I was in top shape. And one morning I woke up and I couldn't get out of bed. And it was just like that. It was like the other day I was out running 3, 4 miles, no issues. And physically I thought I was going to be like this forever. But this one instance, and my body said no more. And it was like that was a wake up call for me on health, how valuable my health was. Because up until that point, I didn't even think about health. It was like, I'm in good shape. I can do whatever I want to. I was like a 20-year-old kid in a 49-year-old body, and I was just doing just fine. At that moment, reality hit me that I could no longer keep up with a 20-year-old. And that set in a whole lot of things started flashing through my head as I can't get out of bed and reality starts setting in. And it took a few years for that new reality to set in with me. And this is where I talk about things. So I had to rebuild my health. I had to stop exercising. The one thing that I love, and I wish I could go back and do just the way I was doing it a few years ago. And it's not going to ever come back to that point. So I had to start playing, I had to learn new things. The first thing I went through is because I stopped exercising. I was putting on tons of weight and I had to get it off because I've never been heavy, not that heavy. And, that scared me. So I had to start it to reevaluate how I'm eating. I had to start playing new games with myself. And what I found is that, you know, diet actually affects your weight. It's not how much you're exercising that affects your weight. It's your actual diet that affects your weight. And I started pulling off weight without exercising. I go, I've never done that before in my whole entire life. And so these were new things that I were learning that social media and other outlets normally will tell you, oh no, this doesn't work. But the reality is, once you start digging into things and not taking things on face blank or trust, actually understanding and digging into things, you start to realize and unpill that not everything is what you're being told. And this is where I tell people you got to do the homework. It's your health, it's your life. You got to do the homework about everything in life that concerns your well being, which can be economic or health wise. So I started, as I dug into the diet, I started pulling out everything. So I went back to a carnivore diet for about a solid year. I dropped a ton of weight. And then I started reintroducing food slowly back into my diet. And now I can start separating out what foods can actually hinder my body and make things worse on me as far as physical being. And by doing these scaling backs, my health improved. And this is where I tell people these old sayings that we all hear, food is thy medicine or food will, is thy element. These things are so true, and we don't realize it when we're younger because of, the body can take a hit and get right back up and go. As you get older, the body can't take those hits and get right back up and go. So you really need this information. And what I realized, if I knew this information when I was in my 20s, I probably wouldn't taken some of those hits and gotten back up and go. I would have probably done things a little bit different so I didn't have to take those hits. So this is where me and Kara were talking this morning, and I was giving her some YouTube videos. One of them is Eric Bragg. He does a great job on talking about different vitamins in food and how food works and what foods cause major issues in the body, from diabetes to Alzheimer's. He really dives into it, and he gives you the nitty gritty so that you can go out and actually do some homework to see if this is beneficial for you. And I like people who will give me some additional information and get me to like the source. So I'm not digging through the weeds. I don't want to spend all day long trying to dig through the weeds. I just want to get where I need to go. And so when people will get me to where I need to go, and then from there I can start doing my homework, that is a wonderful place. So I tell people he's a good person to watch. Um, the other one is Motivational Doc, another doctor who's very wonderful. He does the exact same thing. So I like to use different references. If I can find a doctor talking about things, I like to verify that other doctors are talking about the same exact thing because of the, and then it tells me that it's a consensus. It's not like lunacy or something that I shouldn't trust. Now, there's another doctor there. He gets into the carnivore diet, and I believe he's the last one on the list. Wonderful doctor. He explains why you go into the carnivore diet, why it's so important, and all three doctors will talk about why you all go to a carnivore diet, especially if you're sick. It's to eliminate out the foods out of your body. So you know that there's only one thing that you're intaking in your body, and that one thing will keep you alive and provide you all your nutrition. And then from there, you start introducing back in foods to find what is actually hurting your body a little bit. So these are important things. The other link, how to save money. Um, every time you cook steak, excuse me, I should probably put on my glasses, but we'll leave that off for a second. That was a wonderful way for me to save money. So, like me and my wife, we would go out once a month to Sam's Club after we learned that, hey, you can get a big piece of meat, you can cut it up, and you can get like ribeyes out of it and hamburger meats and different ways. And we started saving a lot of money. So our food budget went from like 500 down to like 250, $300 for the month. We were still getting all the same food that we required, which was our greens and, our meats. But by buying in a little bit bulk, taking a half an hour just to cut up the meats and getting the right cuts that we wanted. So I provide that YouTube video because it's you can go in there, you can pause it, they'll show you how to cut and break down the different types of meats and to get steaks and hamburger meat and all kinds of stew meats and different things. And it's a great weekend. You can sit there if you have in a marriage or you have a boyfriend or girlfriend or even a friend, you can sit back in the kitchen, pull out a couple cutting boards and just talk and laugh and have a good time. Turn it into a date with a friend or with someone who you love. And now you're saving money, but you're also taking time to put love. So I tell people your energy is being put into everything. So why not put a little bit of love and fun into your food as you're sitting there messing with your food? And I think, Kira, do you have anything to say? Because I see you smiling.
I love it. I know we're a couple minutes over, but all of this is really valuable information. And, I think there's a couple of things that I'll say. First of all, do your own research, test your body. Carnivore diet might work out wonderfully for you. Maybe it doesn't. And I say that in the way of like, sometimes we get really good at listening to people, but we don't get good at listening to our bodies. I love meat. You do not have to convince me ever to eat meat, but there are other people who they might be forcing themselves to do something because someone said it. That's not well-being either. So listen, learn, study, do some research, read some scientific documents if your brain can understand that. Start to understand what your needs are as a woman, start to understand what your needs are as a man, and start to prioritize that. And also just make it a fun little game where you can figure out, like, oh, this 100% does work for me. Or I'm going to see this through for 2, 3 months. 90 days is a great touch point and start testing things, start seeing. Also, you can go to people in your local community. There are local farms. You can get a full cow, a half a cow, whatever, like Charles was saying. And eating local is so important. If you can go to farmers markets, if you can drink local water, if you can eat local food, all of that has the microbiome that your body needs. So if you have allergies, if you struggle with seasonal allergies, things along those lines, the more that you eat from your local microbiome, the more that your body will be resilient in your local environment. So, eating fruits that have been imported from South America, not the best. I'm still always going to get my mangoes and things, but also when I go to local farmers markets and I'll get my local mushrooms or my local greens or whatever it is. So there's a lot there for you. Thank you so much for joining into today's session. I always feel like they're so short, but that's kind of the point of Motivational Mondays, to give you wisdom and insight to start thinking differently about your life, and then also to give you the resources that you need to start educating for yourself. But beyond that, to give you just enough to be like, dang it, I want some more. And that's where our guides come into play, and that's how they can help you. So I'm also going to drop Charles's link in the chat for you for his Life Guides profile. Thank you so much, Charles, for being here. You provided a wealth of information, and I know every time that you speak, you bring this really grounded perspective of like, what does it mean to be simple, to be human, to live a good life, and to not focus on the lavishness, but to focus on what we have now and what we can do now. And I think that's a really valuable perspective that not everyone brings to the table. So thank you so much for being here and listening in. It is the last Motivational Monday of the month, so this is a hybrid session. I'll be continuing on for the next 10 minutes, showing you all how to actually use the Life Guides app. Charles, you're welcome to stay or you can hop off. But I'm going to share my screen and show you guys the actual Life Guides profile. And for any of you who need to hop off, there is a survey that pops up at the end. Please fill that out. Leave your reviews, your testimonials, everything along those lines. And I'm just going to show you guys how to find a life guide for any area of life that you're looking for. So if you go to our Life Guides app and you press find a new guide, let's talk about growth, purpose, and prosperity, because that's the main topic that we're talking about. Once you select, and you can select multiple areas, but we're just going to go with one area for now. So once you go to next step, we're going to build a prosperity plan and do budgeting and saving. And then it takes us to our guides. So you'll be able to find guides who are relevant to what you're looking to grow in. I'll pull up Charles's profile because he's here right now. You'll be able to watch an intro video, hear from them, get a little bit of experience, get to know their energy. You get to learn about their superpower, their story, their career path, how they help you, and then also their relevant experience, what they've been through, how they can support you. And you might find someone that you like. Once you do, you just schedule a session. You can select a time. Charles, obviously, this one is just a test, but you'll confirm the session. You'll get a text with a confirmation. You'll get an email with a confirmation. You'll get a text and an email 15 minutes prior to your session. Everything's confidential. Everything is through the Life Guides app. You do not have to fill out any paperwork or do anything insurance. It's all anonymous through the platform. None of your information gets sent to your employers. The only information that'll get sent is a large metric of how many people are having sessions, how many sessions there have been, but your name will never be shared, nor do we even have access to it. Like everything is crazy encrypted in the back end. But you have unlimited sessions with unlimited guides so that you can receive unlimited support. I've had people for finances, investing, relationships, challenges with my mom because, oh my goodness, um, and the whole entire thing. So that's how you use life guides. And then once your session is booked, you'll press it in here. I'm not going to show you because it's my personal life guides account. But from there, that's how you get access to your guide. So thank you all so much for being here. We hope to see you focusing on yourself in the most holistic ways in 2026 so you can live a long, beautiful life of meaning and have memories that matter, that go far beyond your lifetime and ripple out for generations to come. So thank you all so much for being here. Have a beautiful Monday, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.